So, welcome to the group. I know this is kind of some of our regulars, and you guys know the rules, but just quickly, I'm going to run through them. Be sure to stay muted unless we ask you to speak, just to help with the flashing. I will do the same. It helps people that may have seizures, so it's not flashing back and forth from person to person. And then raise your hand with the reactions if you can to let us know if you have a question, or put it in the chat, preferably in the chat in the middle of the speaking. I can't speak anymore today. And we will answer questions at the end. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our guest today. Kerry Ward is known as the Fairy Dogmother, and she's going to talk to us a little bit today about helping prepare our dogs for the holidays and things that we may need to think about in our holiday planning. So welcome, Kerry.
I am Kerry Ward. I am the Fairy Dogmother. I have been for 12 years. It's my birthday today. I'm 12. Well, obviously I'm not 12. I'm much older than 12, but I wish I was. No, I don't wish I was 12. And I'm the founder of the Happy Dog Project as well, which is the part of my business, which is fearful and anxious dogs. So let me share this screen and I'm Kerry, and the Happy Dog Project is the bit of my business that is about building confidence with dogs and working with fearful and anxious dogs. So I'm essentially the Fairy Dogmother, but I'm a total absolute dog geek. I live for dogs. I'm trying to find a hobby that doesn't involve dogs at the moment, and I'm struggling. So I started dancing. Even that, I do canine freestyle with one of my dogs. He'll work to music and freestyle. So even my new hobby of Latin and ballroom dancing is still making me think about what I can do with my dogs. So yeah, it never stops with dogs. Yeah, I've been the Fairy Dogmother for 12 years, like I said, and the Happy Dog Project is the bit of my business that the Fairy Dogmother is training, behavior, puppy training, things like that. The Happy Dog Project is about making dogs and people happier, which is what I love doing. So, I first met Penny from a summit I did, where I did a talk about the whole dog. And the whole dog does matter. It really does. Because, there's a typo on there. Everything affects our dog's behavior. Everything. Even, exercise, sleep, diet, mental enrichment, health, temperature, your emotional state, which we'll talk about, prior experience, everything affects them. So we've got to think about everything, especially if we're taking our dogs into a new place that we might not have worked specifically for that place. And obviously we love our dogs, but their behavior affects our relationship. So, and if people get frustrated with the dogs sometimes, and it rubs off on them. So we want people to adore the dogs like we do. And obviously people's behavior changes our dog's behavior. We all know that. So if we're in a new environment like holiday season and we're a bit stressed or we're a bit excited, that's going to rub off on our dogs. So it's hard to stay calm when we're a little bit stressed because we're taking our dog into a new place. But it makes such a difference. So I wanted to talk about, visiting people in the holiday season. So you've got Thanksgiving and you'll have Christmas coming up. We've just got Christmas. So, and we want our dogs to be comfortable and safe, especially with service dogs. I mean, no matter how well socialized they are, I had a busy house full of food and children running around and things like that. Even service dogs, it's not the norm. It's something a little bit different. So we've got to work on it and make sure that our dogs enjoy it as much as we do. And we can't enjoy it unless we know our dogs are enjoying it and they're relaxed. So preparation. So we need to prepare and make sure we're set up ready. We always want to set our dogs up for success. That's how we train. We train in easy environments and then build up, obviously, distractions and duration and distance and all the other things we work on. So we need to have the right equipment with us and we need to practice. And that means if we set it up properly, we're going to be relaxed because that makes a massive difference. We project our feelings to our dogs. We all know that. And if we're calm and confident, our dogs will be calm and confident. It's like toddlers. They look to the adults for how to behave in a certain place, usually, if they're good kids, and the world around them. And dogs are the same. And they use the nose. We know how good that bit of kit is. And they can tell when we're stressed. So the more we prepare for this and we get our dogs ready for this totally new environment that could be totally alien for some dogs. We'll have party poppers, we'll have kids running around, we'll have boxes, we'll have chocolate, we'll have all sorts of things. The more we prepare our dogs, the more relaxed we're going to be because we're going to be confident our dogs are going to nail it. So why is this not working? There's going to be loads.
There is one thing I just like to add with that, and I know you're going to talk a little bit about exercise and whatnot, but that can be a huge thing that we tend to leave out when we're going to visit family.
Yeah.
You know, we get there, we're excited, we want to go in and see everybody and do all the hugs and whatnot. And if we can just slow it down a minute and let our dog walk around that environment outside, you know, maybe not a full 2-mile walk or whatever you normally do with your dog, but just give them that 10, 15 minutes to sniff the outdoor environment before you take them in can make a huge difference when you go inside to all that excitement.
It is hugely. Yeah, we know we want our dogs to be fairly tired and calm and relaxed, and we're setting them up for success. If we don't want to get them out of the car bouncing off the walls and jumping all over the place and straight in, especially when there's going to be loads of stuff there. So you all know about desensitizing and counter conditioning, so I'm not going to go on about that. But things like flashing lights, Christmas, they might not have seen flashing lights, shiny baubles dangling from a Christmas trees, decorations, loud music, kids running around. It's not an environment that even service dogs are allowed to frequently in. So we can try and desensitize to some of those things. I mean, I remember when I got my Bruce, he's a Belgian Shepherd, a Malinois, and I first got him when I was doing some training. He didn't belong to me. He was going to be a protection dog. And I remember my son coming shouting upstairs, "Mum, Mum!" And Bruce had got out of his crate and he must have just seen the Christmas tree and gone, "Balls!" And he'd annihilated my Christmas tree because I don't think he'd ever seen one before. So he just thought it was this mountain of tennis balls and he absolutely annihilated my tree. So get them used to things like that. If you've got a ball mad dog like Bruce, Christmas baubles and things like that on a Christmas tree at Christmas time are going to be tempting. They're going to be tempting. Hopefully they can tell the difference. I mean, he's never touched a tree since. He knows they're not for playing with. But we've got to get them used to loud noises and things like that. And as service dogs, I'm sure they're all really, really good at stuff like that. But a busy room with people milling around and hugging people is probably not a place where they're used to. And a lot of people travel. They travel a long way to visit relatives at holiday season. So a long car drive is a proper bucket filler for some dogs. So either practice, which a lot of people don't have time to just put the dog in the car and do long drives and gradually build it up. The other thing is just take breaks. The dogs might think about that. The dogs might need more breaks than we do. They might not need toilet breaks that often, but they just might need a break to get out the car and have a 10, 15-minute walk and then get back in to break it up a little bit. because we don't want that bucket being full, that emotional bucket being full when you arrive. We want them to be nice and chilled. So lots and lots of breaks, because some people travel a long way the holiday season, especially over there. You guys probably travel a lot further than we tend to.
For me, I make a 6-hour car drive quite regularly down to my daughter's house.
Oh, right.
House is absolutely filled with excitement. You know, I've got 2 grandkids there. It's a farm, so there's all kinds of animals outside. Talk about excitement overload for a young dog. So I
Yeah.
also have a friend down there that lives about 15 minutes away from my my daughter, that has another service dog. So we always plan our day trip that we go, you know, when we're going down the travel day, we always stop at my friend's house first and do a good hour-long walk with her service dog to help get rid of some of that exercise need after the 6-hour drive, and to give him that chance to get some excitement out with a good friend that he knows before going into the excitement of all the kids and everything else. So you
Yeah.
can think about that too. There might not be another friend or service dog, but there should be something nearby where your end destination is, where
Yeah.
you can go out for a little bit of an extended time before getting there.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's a perfect way to do it. And like I said, your dogs are used to doing a long drive, but a lot of them probably aren't. But have a look and see if there's a place nearby where you can get them out and take them for a walk before you get there. Obviously, dogs like familiarity. So that some people forget. You'd be surprised how many people I speak to that forget these things. You know, their own bed and toys and bowls and a crate. If your dog's sleeping in a crate, some people I speak to, they go away to a holiday cottage and they don't take the dog's crate, and the dog's really stressed because they haven't got a safe place to go to. So, and we've got to keep to routines as much as some dogs have really strict routines. Mine don't. My dog's only routine is that we have no routine. They get fed and trained and walked when they get fed and trained and walked, because my days are all over the place. I could be up at 5 and out with them, or I could be up later and working till 3, and then I'll take them then. So if they've got a strict routine, it can be hard to keep to it when you're at somebody else's house, because they might want to do something, or they might want to go out somewhere, and if your dog has a strict routine, it stresses them out if you can't keep to it. I remember my mum, she did it to her dog. We'd be out and she'd go, "Oh, it's 4:30, we've got to go." And we're like, "Why?" And she said, "Well, I've got to feed Sam at 5." I was like, "Well, what's going to happen if you don't?" She said, "He'll get really stressed." But when they expect food at a certain time, the stomach gets full of stomach acids and the pacing, and they're wondering where the food is. So if they have got a strict routine, no, you're going to have to tell people, this is the time that I need a quiet place to go feed my dog, because he's used to eating at that time. If they're flexible, that's great. They fit around the party and the people. But it really stresses dogs out if they're used to a strict day. Like I said, mine aren't. Things happen for my dogs when they happen. Same as me, because all my days are very, very different. The need of calms, if it's a really busy place, like I said, your dogs are probably pretty good at being calm and settled in restaurants and cafes and places like that. But if they don't get proper sleep, it can make them stressed and restless and overexcited. So they need a place to sleep. So it's always worth checking ahead that they've got a quiet room, and say, can I put my dog's bed in your spare room or in your utility room or something like that? And some people's dogs sleep on the bed. I know mine do sometimes, not all the time. I don't want them to expect it. My Chihuahua doesn't, because she keeps me awake. She goes under the duvet and under my legs and snuffles and moves around, so she never gets to sleep in my bed. And Bruce does sometimes. But some people's dogs always sleep on the bed, and you might go to visit a friend and they'll go, "Well, we don't allow dogs in bedrooms." So it's worth speaking to them and planning, even if it's planning your dog not being in your bed for, if you've got to a period of time where you can let them learn to sleep alone, because some people really won't want your dog on in one of the bedrooms. Hopefully they'll understand now, especially with service dogs, that people want them close and the dogs want to be close, but
not always.
not always.
That supportive. My
No.
family, but not for everybody.
No, some people do though. Yeah. I mean, my boyfriend's dog, his dog always sleeps on his bed when I'm not there. And it took him a while to get used to the fact that sometimes he was, I mean, it's not that I don't want him there, but there's just not enough room. There's not enough room for us and a Dalmatian who likes to sleep with his head on the pillow. So, but he's got used to it. But we do let him up sometimes. So, but they feel the energy from the environment, and that a busy house with kids running around and stressed out people, maybe seeing people they've not seen for ages, they need a calm space to just go chill. So it's worth checking ahead to see if there is a place like that. Yeah. If not, even, I mean, I don't know whether even a car, just sitting in the car and going for a drive for a bit, if they're getting stressed, if there isn't anywhere, might help the dogs, just so they get, obviously, and going for walks. And yeah, make sure they haven't, if you're visiting somebody, make sure they haven't suddenly got a new pet that you didn't know about. Like they might have a dog that's not great with dogs, or a young puppy that's going to bounce all over your dog, or they've just got a cat. So check in advance. And obviously they need to share the space, and maybe it might be alternating quiet time. So we don't want our dogs to get stressed out, and we don't want them running around playing with another dog all day and not having any quiet time. So quiet time in places like that is so important. It's really important.
It's so hard to actually achieve.
It's really hard. That's why checking in advance and saying, look, my dog will need, every few hours he'll need somewhere just to go have a little nap and a chill out. If you got somewhere I can pop him, then they know. Because not everybody's dog people, not all our friends and relatives are dog people, sadly. Most of mine are. I haven't got any friends that don't like dogs. So,
and it's kind of true for service dog handlers too, because we get used to our dogs resting kind of naturally when we're at home, and then nonstop being on the job when we're not home. So if you're going to a family member's house for an extended stay, like an overnight stay, it's natural for us to want to think our dog is on the job 24/7 there, and dogs simply cannot handle that. I mean, medical alert dogs, I mean, yes, Azul is going to be 24/7, maybe paying attention to my migraines, but he can do that in his sleep, and he still needs that time to sleep. So he can't be on point at my side, focused in the crowded room with tons of family all day long without a break. Dogs just can't do that.
No, so it's too much to ask.
Prepare for that.
Yeah, it's too much to ask for them to be working all the time. So it might be that if you've got a dog that has to be with you all the time as their job, that you both go and have some quiet time. No, a room with a nice sofa and just have a sofa cuddle for a bit, and you can both have a break from it all, because it is stressful. Visiting people we only see once or twice a year, and all the kids and things like that. It stresses my kids out going to see my sister and my little niece, because she adores them and she won't leave my boys alone. So they need a bit of time. They'll go, look, we're just going to go in there for a bit and chill. And that's it.
I think we all do.
Yeah.
We all hit that point where we just need a break. As much as we love what's going on there, we still just need either fresh air or a quiet space.
Yeah, and it could be we go for a walk.
For that as well.
Yeah, it could be we go for a walk. It could be we just go sit in the car for an hour. It could be we go for a drive. Yeah, it is hard spending time like all day and all evening with lots of people when we're not used to it. No, I'm used to it being fairly quiet here with me. And
seems like, just gonna say, it seems like for me when I'm visiting, we always do at least one run for a meal out for some reason, or run for something, maybe we're all working on a big dinner the next day. So the night before we grab pizza or whatever, I'll
Yeah.
volunteer to be the one to go get that, because that gives my dog a chance to chill in a car where he's comfortable with. And it gives us that reason to not be in the crowd and around anxious people, because we're doing a job. And if we need that job to take an extra 5 minutes to help us calm down or let our dogs rest, that's okay. They're
Yeah.
not, we pulled over to the side of the road for 5 minutes and just breathe,
Yeah. We need to just
I always
be.
volunteer.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes to calm our dogs down, we just need to be. I mean, yeah, I'll meditate occasionally when I've got time. And it's really bizarre. I've done it before where I've sat and just meditated for a bit, and even my parrot went to sleep, which was really freaky because I very rarely see my parrot asleep, and all the dogs fell asleep and my parrot fell asleep just because I was just quiet and not moving and just keeping I mean, it's as calm as you can get if you can meditate. It's a nice thing to do, but just being with them, you don't have to be doing anything. You don't have to be touching them, stroking them, training them, playing with them. Just sitting with your dog and being still is a really nice thing to do, and it really calms them. But back to getting there, like you mentioned at the beginning, letting them sniff out of the car, let them sniff around the garden, or a walk. Either do a walk, park up and do a walk before you get there, or if you've got to go straight there because there's nowhere in the vicinity where you can get your dog out for a nice safe walk, then get out of the car and go through, even if it's just a walk around the block, just take them out and let them sniff, because we know sniffing's good for our dogs. It relaxes them. And obviously letting them toilet, because if they want the toilet and they're stressed, then it's going to make them more edgy if they're dying to go to the toilet. So make sure they do toilet before you go in. I think it's a good idea for some people, if they can, is leave the dog in the car and go to the door and do your big hellos and cuddles and highs and how you doing, and then go get the dog out. So you've got it over with. No, we don't want the dog arriving with like 10 people at the door going, yeah, I've seen you for ages. So get it over with. And I think if you can, then go get the dog out of the car. It depends if you have to park, 2 streets away or something, then obviously not. But generally, I think it's nice to get the big greetings out of the way and then get the dog out of the car if we can. If not, just ask them just to go sit down and not all run to the door, because I think they get overwhelmed. Because doorways can be quite a trigger for some dogs, because it's narrow, and if there's loads of people there, loads of legs, I think it can be a hard spot for them, and we want them to walk in calmly, don't we? And chill.
Another great thing just to add there is to remember your management skills. A lot of service dogs might be trained for off-leash work. And so when we're walking into a strange house and there is that many people, simply walking in the door and taking them off leash, or walking in the door without a leash, can be too overwhelming for them. So while some people think of it as you're controlling them with that leash, for the dog, that can be a huge comfort, because they know they can look around and sniff around and still have that connection to you. And it can help kind of rein in some of that excitement with them, just knowing, yep, they're on a leash, they're staying at your side, they're working, and just kind of that general mindset walking in can really help.
Yeah. And it's whether with your dog you want them to be in work mode or you don't at a time like walking into somebody's house. I guess they're all going to be different. Some we want them to have the work head on, and some we want off duty. So whichever is going to relax the dog most, I suppose. I guess Penny, they're all a little bit different.
Yeah, it really does depend on the dog and the house. If I go to my mom's house per se, which is much quieter, much longer drive, many more stops along the way, and my dog is bored from the car. It's like a 9-hour drive versus 6. But so the company there is different, and not all of them are maybe as dog loving as, say, my daughter's house. So yeah, I walk in with Azul on a leash. He gets the lay of the land. He walks through, and we might be there an hour or 2 hours before that leash comes off, and he has some freedom. Whereas he's so used to going to my daughter's house because he's been doing it since he was 8 weeks old, that there I can just open the door, flip the leash off, and let him run and have at it because I know he's going to excitedly greet everybody. They're all going to be excited to greet him, and it's going to be just a happy moment for everybody because he's used to that environment and those people, and they all want it. So
Yeah,
that's something to keep in mind as well. It might vary depending on where you're going.
yeah, because there might be people there that aren't dog people that don't want a dog racing in and greeting everybody. And
It's also true, like my daughter's house where Azul can just run in. If she has extra company, I might have to then keep him on a leash for a little while. So being aware of that before you walk in the door, and also teaching your dog that not every time you go in is a free for all. Sometimes you have to go into this house and stay in work mode, so having them that variety ahead of time can really help as well.
right, yeah, yeah. It's and like I said, they're all different and all locations are different. So, but yeah, once they're off lead, or even with them on a lead, letting them just, depending if they're in work mode or not, obviously, with some of the dogs, but letting them explore and sniff so they can settle. Because some dogs, when they go in a new environment, if they don't get a chance to investigate, they'll be quite highly aroused and stressed. Once they've had a good sniff and investigated everything, and they're like, right, that's it, we're good, and they'll settle. But again, that depends if the dog's got to stay working or not.
Well, I think even most working dogs, maybe a little bit different if that dog is assisting a blind person that's depending on him for guide work. But
Yeah.
even most working dogs are going to sniff the environment from the handler's side. So as the handler makes their way around the room, saying hi, giving out hugs, shaking hands, whatever it is they're doing, the dog is exploring that environment, even if they're in work mode. So just kind of making sure that you know your dog and you know what level and can they functionally do both at the same time. If they have a young dog, maybe they can. Maybe you need to focus more on that dog exploring the environment than you saying hi to everybody. Versus if it's a dog that's been around a while and is used to it, they might be content to do that sniff while they're still in work mode. And so you do have to kind of vary it based on your dog. A 9-year-old dog is going to do much better having been exposed to things like that previously versus a 6-month-old puppy. So kind of keep that in mind as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Some dogs can multitask, I guess, and some need to do one and then the other. So, yeah. And once they're settled, obviously, I just threw that in from the other one. Yeah. We need to remember that there's even though we get there and we want to interact with everybody, we want to play games, we want to talk, we want to open presents, we want to play with kids, we've still got to think about things to do with our dogs. Some people just not service dogs, generally people, they'll just protect the dog round and just totally forget about the dog and leave them to their own devices or not keep an eye on them. So, doing a little bit of playtime, letting them, curiosity, all those things build confidence, playfulness, curiosity, choice, decision making, achievement. So even if you just find a room and hide something so they can do a little bit of nose work and choose where they settle, it might be worth having a mat in a busy room and a mat in another room that's quiet, so they get to choose. They might want to be in the middle of it, or they might want to take themselves off, and then they get to choose. And I think dogs don't get a lot of choices, and I think it builds confidence to let them choose sometimes. I think it makes a big difference.
One of the big choices I like to add, we all know that a lot of us would hand feed our dogs in training sessions or whatnot. And some of us will do a mix of hand feeding and bowl feeding. And then we tend to think, okay, I'm going to be too busy. I'm just going to take their bowl and put it down for them. Some dogs might be just fine with that. But a younger dog that is used to having more one-on-one interaction with you might absolutely need that hand feeding or need that lick mat or snuffle treat or that extra chewy bone, whatever it is, to be able to settle during the highest arousal moments of your trip, which could be mealtime, which could be when other people are arriving or when you arrive or whatever. It could be anything. But you have to kind of look at that, what your dog's routine is versus what would you do at home and kind of try to keep that same, like you were saying with routine, but building those choices. For Azul, I tried to always do hand feeding or specialized feeding when we went to my daughter's. And I learned when I did give him a choice that he really, like here, he loves all that stuff. But there, he's so busy with everything else. When he eats, he just wants it out of a bowl. Let me have it. And then I don't have to mess with food anymore that day. And I can, because he works with or without food, he actually works better without food than with usually. But so give them that choice. Let them choose. Do you want option A, option B? And that can really, really help you have a more successful trip.
Yes. Yes. It's good to give them choices. And so, yes, holiday food. Now your holiday food over there, especially Christmas food, is a lot safer than ours. It's a lot safer than ours. But we've got to remember that people where we're visiting might not be dog people, and they might not know what our dogs are allowed to eat. No, we don't want them sneaking something naughty to our dogs. So, or obviously the well-trained dogs, we don't want somebody rewarding a behavior we don't want them to do again. So people might just feed a dog when they're jumping up or something like that. So if that's not something we want them to do. So Zebra trainer head never leaves me. But we don't want them giving our dogs anything dangerous. So I'm sure you know all the most obvious ones, but chocolate, obviously, but there might be chocolates at Christmas specifically. There might be chocolate decorations on a tree rather than just boxes of chocolate and in really obvious places. Grapes and raisins, I don't know. Yeah, some salads, I guess, have grapes in, and people might just not think and just, salad's fine for dogs. But I mean, in the UK, we've got Christmas pudding, Christmas cake, mince pies, sweet mince pies. I don't think you guys have any of those things, do you? Yeah.
We have most of them.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I was Googling it and I thought, no, apparently they don't do sweet mince pies and pudding. But yeah,
Another big one for us, no matter what holiday, Thanksgiving or Christmas, tends to be pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
And of course, pumpkin is good for dogs. But when we get into a pie, we often use spices that are not good.
Yeah.
And so we have to think about that. Nutmeg is really bad for dogs, and it's a common ingredient in pumpkin pie. So you want to make sure that you know whether it's there or not before you're tempted to feed that to your dog.
Yes, exactly. And obviously there's a lot of alcohol around at most parties. My Chihuahua would, any chance she got, would stick her head in a glass of Baileys because of the cream. I know that because I caught her doing it once. So yeah, I mean, most dogs probably won't eat. But some dogs like beer, I suppose. But I mean, it has the same effect on them, doesn't it? It makes them drunk, but it can, it gives them really low blood sugar, so they can have seizures. One that I found that I didn't realize was blue cheese. Yeah. Blue cheese, the fungus in blue cheese can be dangerous to dogs. And that is one that I only found the other week when I was looking something up. And I don't like blue cheese. It's moldy stuff. But some people.
Me either, but it tends to be around, and that was one I didn't know either. So that's a really good one. Yeah, think about it.
Yeah, something called Roquefort C or something like that. And it's in the fungus, and they get muscle tremors and seizures. I don't think it's a terminal kind of, highly toxic poison, but it's not good for them. And yeah, I found that the other day, and I never even thought about cheese. And most people won't, so I'm going to share that with my guys as well. obviously turkey carcasses, people might throw them in a bin, and dogs are very good at opening bins when they really want to. So throwing up, because obviously cooked bones are brittle, especially turkey and chicken and things like that. They're really dangerous.
That one can be a big one only because we think our dogs know better than to get in a trash. And we may not worry about a trash that's open because our dogs know better. But know better when there's a pizza crust or something else there. Do they know better when there's a tempting turkey bone there? I don't take the chance. Once the bones go in the trash goes out no matter how full it is, just to make sure. And I mean, I can leave my trash can open all the time. My dogs know better, but you're in a different house and you have something so tempting.
Yeah, it's a different environment.
Where's the risk?
Yeah, the rules can change sometimes for our dogs, or they think they do, with different environments and different people. So yeah, my bins are like in a drawer, so there's a cupboard in front of it, so my dogs never get near the bins. And other people as well. Some people think any bone's all right for dogs, so it's making sure other people know not to give a drumstick to the dog without taking the bone out of it first and things like that. And nuts are generally okay. I mean, people sometimes have big bowls of different kinds of nuts, and walnuts, I guess, things like that might be a choking hazard, but nuts are generally fine for dogs, apart from macadamia nuts, which I know because I've got a parrot, and my African grey's favorite thing in the world is macadamia nuts. And I've got to make sure she doesn't throw them out of the cage for the dogs, because she does throw things for the dogs sometimes. So she only gets those when the dogs are out of the way. Yeah, a lot of party food and holiday food has got nuts either on it or in it. But I think, do you know of any other nut that's dangerous? There's only macadamia nuts that I know of.
Yeah, I don't know of them. I know that I do feed my dogs nuts on occasion, but
mine do.
Yeah, no. The only other bad thing I know is peanut butter, which we might think, peanut butter is good for dogs, but here in the States, we have a low sugar peanut butter that has xylitol in it, which is bad. And so we may make sure we don't buy that at our house, but we may not think to make sure that our guests have peanut butter that's safe. And if there's young kids that, sometimes young kids don't want to eat what we're eating, and they might be eating a peanut butter and jelly, and then they might accidentally be tempted to slide that to our dogs.
Yes.
So we don't want to be aware of it. It's not like we have to tell them to throw it out and don't use it because we're there. But then we can make sure that we're keeping our dog away from that child that's eating that sandwich, because that temptation is there. So
yes.
It's something to be aware of.
And there's a lot of sweets around at Christmas, and xylitol is really, really dangerous, isn't it? More dangerous than people think. That's in chewing gum and a lot of sweets and things like that, because it affects their blood sugar, their insulin, doesn't it? So it causes massive problems. And there's loads of buns and sweets and things that people buy low sugar versions for holidays to try and make us feel a little bit better about eating so much. So there's loads of it around. Stuffing. Yeah, stuffing can have onions in it. Obviously, our dogs aren't supposed to eat onions. I mean, there's loads of different recipes for stuffing for turkey, but a lot of them have onions in. Yeah. I mean, I made some.
There's other ingredients in stuffing too that are bad, and I can't remember exactly what they are, but I know there's ingredients common to stuffing that make it bad.
Yes. Yeah. Is it not coriander? Yeah, some of the herbs are quite bad, aren't they? That can be.
And the level of salt.
Yes. Yeah, it is quite salty. It is quite salty. And corn on the cob's quite common. I mean, sweet corn and corn is absolutely fine for dogs, but the actual corn on the cob, it's really indigestible. My Rottie once got hold of, I'd chopped the corn on the cob into chunks for the kids when they were younger, and he managed to get one of them, and he was quite poorly. It took him ages. It must have been in his stomach for a long time. It took a long time to come back out the other end, and it was just really quiet, and it can damage the stomach lining, can't it? Because it's in there for a long time, just rolling around.
Especially if they eat it in big chunks.
Yes, and he did. Yeah. In fact, I think he ate most of it in one mouthful, because he was a big lad. It was my Rottie, bless his heart. And when people are cooking, I haven't made bread for ages. I found my bread maker in the cupboard and I'm going to make some bread. I know it's cheating using a bread maker, but at least I'm half doing it. But unbaked bread dough, people might just fit, because, you know, just give the dog a little piece to see if they like it, because the dogs will eat anything. But obviously it'll rise in the stomach and fill the stomach and bloat them. So people will, you know, cake mix, you know, when you're making buns and things, you might give your kids some, stick your finger in that and things. And people let the dogs do silly things like that as well. So if people are making bread, you've got to be really careful, because it'd be very tempting for a dog to steal it, I think. As things go, I think it's something a dog would love to steal. But yeah, I think that was pretty much it. I mean, avocados aren't great for dogs either, but I don't know why anybody would feed a dog avocados, and it's not particularly a holiday food. But I think that's all the food we can think of that is dangerous for them. And like you said earlier, we've got to keep our dogs' enrichment and exercise levels up. You know, it's never going to be as much as what we do at home. But, you know, when they get bored, if they're used to doing training multiple times a day and hand feeding and doing lots of training, they might get bored and just go self-employed and go find something to do. So, you know, and people might offer to take your dog for a walk. And sometimes we'll feel really bad for saying no. Or it might be somebody you trust, and it'll really help you out by letting them take them out. Obviously, everybody's different and all the dogs are different. But it's hard to say no to people sometimes when they're just being nice. So, but there's loads of like you know, obviously we can do loads of things just to keep them moving, even if we're practicing a bow or putting the paws on something and letting them have a stretch and doing rollovers or anything that just keeps them moving a bit, if they're not going to get the amount of walking that they normally get. Or if there's a yard where we can, if dogs play ball, or they can go on a search for something, you know, do some nose work just to keep them moving. Because we tend to be so busy all day, we feel bad about going, right, I've got to go out for an hour because I've got to walk my dog, when everybody else is just in the house.
Especially if we get into helper mode where we want to help family prepare that dinner and we're doing something else, and then we're not really paying attention to our dog. Maybe they're settled on the mat longer than what they really are comfortable being. And like you said, if we don't give them something to do, they're going to find something to do. So just kind of keep that in mind, that if you're going to take your dog into that environment, you got to be prepared to stop what you're doing and take care of their needs.
Yeah, keep having breaks and not get involved in too much organizing and helping and cooking, because our dogs are used to working a lot, and they'll get up to no good if we leave them too long. No matter how good our dogs are, they'll get bored and they'll find something to do. So they'll give themselves a job. I mean, hopefully we might have family there that are good at training dogs or good with dogs, and they might do something with them to keep them busy. We might have other people there with service dogs that you can take it in turns to keep the dogs busy. Who knows? But yeah, we've got to try and make it as normal as we can in an environment that is far from normal. So, and that is hard, but if we prepare and we're relaxed, but not so relaxed that we forget about our dog, we don't want to be so chilled that we just we leave the dogs to their own devices. But the more relaxed we are and the more normal we act, obviously, our dogs will pick up on it and they'll go, right, it's fine, she's happy, all good, I've got something to do, and all my regular things are happening. I've got somewhere to settle if I want to get away from all this nonsense. So I think it is nice to give them a choice. Either they can go play with everybody, or they can go in a quiet room. But I think we sometimes need to enforce that quietness, don't we? Even though our dogs are having the best time, you know, being stroked by the kids and watching telly and just running around and getting petted, we need to go, no, half an hour, you need to go in there, or we need to go in there just for half an hour to chill out. and relax, and then come out and
Definitely.
come out and enjoy it again. And as always on my things, we're always their protectors and their teachers and their guides and their rock. They depend on us. They depend on us for everything: company, shelter, food, cuddles, affection, love. So we just got to not forget that, and forget about them when we're somewhere busy, that they depend on us completely. No, we're their whole world, and we've got a house full of family and friends, but to our dog, we're their world, and we've got to not forget that.
Right. And their needs might be greater or different in that new environment. So just kind of keep that in mind. If they're used to walking for an hour, they might need two different walks for an hour. You know, if they're used to napping for an hour, they might need an extra nap or a longer nap or whatever. So just be willing to look at that and remember that if you want them to help you, you have to help them be healthy and fit and the best that they can be in that situation.
Yes, it is. It's helping them be the best they can be, which is what our dogs always are, because they're amazing, aren't they? And just we're their world. So we've got to not forget that when we're in an environment where we're distracted and excited and getting involved in things we wouldn't normally be involved in, that our dog is just thinking about us. So, and what they usually do. So
are we ready for questions and answers?
Yep. Any questions? That's absolutely fine. If anybody wants to unmute, you're welcome to.
Yeah. And I don't know that we will get any, but yes, does anybody have huge holiday plans that are something unnormal for their dog that they might need a little bit of help with prep for? My holiday plans involve going to my daughter's house, and Azul is fairly comfortable there, and I'll be there probably 4 or 5 days. So, I mean, that's going to be, other than more exercise because of the animals outside. He wants to always go outside and see those animals again. But, you know, that's, at least then I don't have to worry about actually taking him for a walk, because they have a fenced in yard area where I can let him off leash and he can zoom between all the animals because they're in their own pens, and it's safe for him. And so it's not his normal, which is probably why he wants to go out 5 times a day instead of twice a day or whatever. You know, it's something to think about.
Yeah, we want them to enjoy it as well. So when we go back again, they remember it and they go, this was cool last time, I liked it, and they'll be even better next time. I mean, my Christmas is, I think everybody's coming here, because my sister, we were going to my sister's, but she's got a new dog who's quite nervous of people. Yeah, we've not done enough work on it, so it'd totally stress her dog out if we all went around there. So she's coming here, and as we've got like how many dogs we've got? 9 dogs between us. So luckily she lives close enough that wherever we are, the other one can go. So we don't tend to take our dogs with us at Christmas. So because we live close enough to keep nipping home and checking on them. And
right, that does make a huge difference as well. You know, and I know you touched on it a little bit, but if you're going into somebody's house and they've got a dog, like this year, the house that I stay at with my daughter has a new puppy, and this puppy, by the time we go down, will be about 5 months old. So that is definitely going to add new excitement into the house. And while Azul is super comfortable with it being an excited house, he's going to want to play with the puppy. And so to set those boundaries of this is playtime and this is not playtime is going to be a huge distractor for me, taking me away from some of the other things I might normally be able to do.
Yeah. And we've got to think about other people's pets as well. Like going to my sister's, I'm aware that she's got a dog that's quite nervous. So, you know, other people, and especially young dogs, because it's such a sensitive time at 5-6 months old. It's really sensitive time, isn't it? So we've got to be careful that, you know, our dog doesn't upset their dog. And I'm sure they don't. But it is a sensitive time for them.
Right, because we have to think that dog is on their home turf. And if our dog is constantly bugging them, which used to be the case when Azul was little and they had a 14-year-old dog, it was, they enjoyed each other. They were fine. They got along, but Azul would be in play mode 24/7 and a 14-year-old dog couldn't play that much. So we had to keep that in mind and watch boundaries and let them sniff each other, but not break into an all-out WrestleMania session that Azul likes to do with his husky buddies.
Yeah, yeah. And maybe share the space. Take it in turns for the dogs to go for a rest while the other one comes out. And then, we've got to think about other people's pets as well. We just, to us, ours are important, but other people's dogs and other animals we've got to think about. So it might be that there's 3 people there with dogs. So we have a quiet room and 2 dogs out, or we have 1 dog out at a time. And sometimes let them have a play outside and run around to burn off some steam. So they're not constantly trying to get to each other because they're frustrated and they want to play. So depends. All houses are different. It's there's no rule for everybody, is there?
Right.
And all the dogs are different.
And sometimes, and I know we had talked about a little before, we may decide that we want to stay in a hotel. It might be easier kind of thing. So getting the dog conditioned to that, especially if you let your dog lay on the bed at home and you don't want them on the hotel bed, which is kind of a taboo thing to do. It's not your bed and you don't own it. So make sure that your dog is trained to lay elsewhere if you ask them to and stay down when asked. Same with furniture. In my house, my dogs own the couch. In my daughter's house, he can get on the couch with permission if it's, next to me and there isn't a living room full and that kind of thing. So it's just different rules and you have to kind of be aware of that.
Yeah, and dogs can find it hard having different rules in different places. Like my dogs are allowed on the sofa, and occasionally on my bed. But you might go to a house where no dogs are allowed on the sofa. So they need to realize that it's a different environment. If it's busy, they'll probably be too busy investigating everything to go chill on the sofa anyway.
Well, and the big thing is talking to the homeowners beforehand. What are your rules? Do you know I'm bringing my service dog? Are you aware of that? What can we do? Can we have that quiet space? Are you okay with them being under my feet at the table like they would a restaurant? Things like that. The first time my dog ate at a dinner table with my son-in-law was quite annoying for him because in his mind, dogs don't belong in the room you're eating. That's just the way he was raised. They're not allowed in that room.
Yeah.
And my dog was well trained to stay under my chair and not move the whole time, but that was just different for him. So allowing him to know that and just showing, look, this is what we have set up ahead of time. This is the plan. I was in his house. He could have said, no, put your blanket in the other room. And I could have had, Azul would have really struggled holding that downstay at that point because he was only like 6 months old, where he had no problem holding it tucked under my chair because that was familiar. So yeah, you got to really, really talk to the homeowners beforehand and understand where their limits are and see if you can meet halfway or work it out. And sometimes you're better off just not taking your dog if you can't. And that might mean you don't go, or that might mean you leave your dog home or with a babysitter and you have a person that can help you with some of the things you might need. So there are definitely a lot of things to consider with the holidays.
Yeah, we have to be flexible, and so do they, really. But yeah, all relationships are different, and some people, like you say, some people don't want a dog under the table because they might have trained their dog to go lie on a mat while they eat. I don't have my dogs under the table when I eat,
right?
But obviously,
but it's common in the service dog world.
It's different, yeah.
Right, because they have to do it in a restaurant.
Of course they get to do it. It's fine. My dog can go somewhere else. It's fine. Yeah, people.
And at 6 months old, Azul wasn't eating in restaurants yet, but he had been doing the training for tucking under the table in prep for restaurants. He had been doing it at home. So that was another environment where we could practice, and we were able to practice at meals ahead of time when my son-in-law wasn't home, with some of the lunch and stuff when it wasn't our big dinner, and come to that big dinner. And that was a huge eye opener. Like, I never thought that maybe he would be uncomfortable with that. I mean, he did end up accepting it and was fine with it, but in his house, I would have had to go with his rule, even if that meant putting up a baby gate or shutting his rule in a different room or something to that effect. Because bottom line, if you're visiting somebody else, you kind of have to live by their rules.
Yeah. So
I do thank you for being here. I think this was a great chat, and I know we'll have a lot more tuning in to the replays. So I'm excited about that. But if we don't see any other questions, I actually have an appointment I have to get to this afternoon. So
I'll check the chat. No, there's no messages, but
no.
Yeah, I'm sure they can ask you after the replay when you post it. And
exactly.
Yeah. But it's been lovely.
We'll have lots of other tips. And I do have your website and the Happy Dog Project link in the Facebook events. So if anybody wants more information about that, it is in the event for today.
Yes. And I'll share some of your things as well. We'll have a chat, and it'd be nice because it helps average dog owners, because they don't realize some of the things that service dogs have to do, and that they need to adapt to, like the fact that a dog's going to be under the table. So
right,
I think it'd be nice to share some of your things for a lot of people who might have visitors and they don't realize exactly how close the dog has to stay or what the dog has to do. So that, or
whether they can greet that dog or not. That's another big one, and that varies from service dog handler to handler. I'm totally fine with people greeting my dog if we're in a home situation. My dog is used to it and he enjoys it. He looks forward to it. But some dogs may not enjoy it, and some handlers may have to say, no, he's in work mode. I need you to not distract him right now. And so you have to think about that ahead of time as to what are your rules for your service dog going to be as far as other people touching them and the interaction you're going to have.
Yeah, and whether they wear the training vest, which reminds people that they are actually a service dog. Because some people will forget, once the dog's been there a while, they might just forget that they're a service dog because it's just a dog wandering around. So maybe putting the vest on, if they are wanting people not to touch the dog or that the dog's working, that they leave the vest on if the dog's used to it, and it just reminds people.
Right.
But yeah, we'll have a chat about some things of yours I can share to help people at the other end who are going to have visitors or visiting people with a service dog.
Yes, by all means.
Right. Yes, we shall have a chat. It's been lovely.
Always.
I've enjoyed it.
And you're always welcome to stop back in and visit with us. You got something new and exciting to share, just let us know.
I will.
I'm always trying to get information out there as well. So
yes,
we like information. That's the one thing about this group. Everybody here, they want to learn more. They want to be better. We're on a really big push. At least I am, and a couple of our other leaders in this group are on a push to help people think of it more as a teamwork. The whole mentality of service dogs where they were there to serve a person for so long. Was it? They had a job, they served the person, they were servants. But to us, dogs are not servants. They're our family members, they're our partners. We want them to save our life. We have to be there for them. And it's more of a collaborative effort. And that's what we're trying to help express to the rest of the world, that, there are service dog handlers that actually think of that. And it's a partnership with their dogs, and their dogs are just as important to them partnership wise versus work wise. They don't work all the time.
Yeah, it is. It's teamwork. It's teamwork. And some other people get the wrong impression. Like my one of my older relatives used to say, oh, I don't like guide dogs because they must have such a miserable life because they don't get to play. I'm like, they do. They do get to play. They do get to be normal dogs, but some people don't see that. They just see the work dog. They don't see the dog that is loved and adored and played with at home. So it is nice to
And
get
cuddled on the couch and taking that sniff about walking. Yeah.
Yeah, one of my friends has got MS. She's got a service dog, and he's lovely. And I rarely see her with her. I do occasionally, but I see him out round the park with Alistair, running around, playing. You know, he's the best life, and he's an amazing service dog for her, picking things up, moving things, and things like
Exactly.
that. So they do have a,
Teamwork makes it all possible.
yes, it is. Right, I shall let you go because you've got an appointment.
Yes, yes. And thank you for joining us. It was great. Everybody have a great afternoon, and Kerry, have a great evening.
I will. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.